You're welcome to A Foreigner in the Philippines. Well, we did a video the other night about our experiences with adoption in the Philippines. And the Philippines, I've never been through an adoption system procedure before, so I can't say whether the adoption procedure here is so much more difficult than anywhere else. But one of the things that came up was, let's look at the idea of why we would adopt. We would adopt, obviously, people who adopt obviously want to have a child in their life. I want to have children in their life, and I see all kinds of success stories where people have adopted as many as 5 children in one go so that they can keep a family together. And the thing that I notice there in particular, which affects me because of my age, is that they're usually a younger couple, probably in their 30s, for the particular ones that I've seen and admired. So if we look at the idea that we want to have a child in our lives, well, there are many ways that you can do that. And if you are, one that was recommended to us by our friend who runs a orphanage, she runs an orphanage, and we were talking about our real desire to have a child in our lives. We do have children in our lives. We were hoping at that time to have one of our own. And we really did want to conceive and deliver a child of our own. It so far has proved to be something that's not in the plan. I had many letters when we were doing all of what was required in the in vitro procedure. I had many letters from people who said that they had tried it and failed, and then there were others who did the first initial parts of the procedure, and 2 months later they were pregnant, and it worked very well. When we were there at the clinic, we actually spoke to another woman who was obviously extremely pregnant and there for a checkup, and she actually put us to shame, because although we did some of the things that we were advised and recommended to do, and there are a few physical things that you do during and after the act which leads to a conception, and she did them all. They didn't go to parties, they didn't go out, they stayed in, they did the deed, they did it the way that everybody and their brother had suggested that they should. They ate the food, they took the vitamins, they just did everything. They exercised, they did the whole, totally dedicated, totally focused, and they became totally pregnant. Now, when we were doing that, our mission work has led us to be associated with kids. When we were at the church, my Sunday driving job, I always called it my Sunday driving job, and I used to pick up the kids who wanted to go to the church of all ages, and Beth and I would go, and we would drive, and we would at pre-designated spots, we would pick up the kids with whom we were very familiar. And at that time we also had a program for making sure that kids, when they went to school, obviously this was pre-pandemic, that they would have something to eat. That was our plan. Whether that really worked out, I'm not quite sure, because I think that sometimes the money that we gave, which amounted to a great deal of money when it was spread out over the, let me see, I think somewhere between 80 and 100 kids. Believe me, it was a lot. And we gave them enough per month, I think, let me see, maybe 400 pesos. Not a huge amount of money. Easy way to do it is $2 to the 100. Work it out, so not very much. But here, because of the exchange rate, we were able to do a lot with a little. Well, we actually began to realize as we looked at the children that we had become close to, we realized that adoption, which many of you subscribers had suggested, some of you quite vehemently, well, I don't know why you should be bringing another child into the world when there are so many. And you're right, we understood that. People feel passionately about it. And if you came out here and went to Cebu, or certainly Manila, and you see some of those poor kids who are living on the street, you'd feel even more passionately about it. Well, we went to our forum, as I've explained in the other video, and I'm doing this now because a great deal of interest was aroused, generated by that other video and about the subject of adoption. So another way that we were suggested it could be sped up was if you fostered. So if you're in a situation where you would like to help a child, not just adopt for yourself, but that you would like to help a child, and believe me, if you ever get involved in doing any kind of volunteer work for an orphanage, and you see some of the kids that are there and hear some of the stories, you can do a lot of good just by helping out at an orphanage, believe me. And this is kind of what happened with us, is that we were trying to help the kids that came in to church. We have our Christian beliefs, and it's our belief that kids will prosper more if they have a Christian ethic in their lives, and we still believe that, and we still pick up kids to get them into church, and we involve them in church activities, and we have our what we now call our education program, which will help kids to be involved in getting an education. Not quite so easy at the moment because of this these quarantine, what I feel are nothing more than control mechanisms, but that's another video, isn't it? Not always so popular. So the thing that we were told was that if we fostered, if we went through the shorter term, quicker, because apparently it is quicker to get yourself registered and approved to foster a child, and you can do a great deal of good by fostering a child. Now, obviously there's a certain amount of make and heartbreak in that, because you have children coming through your life and leaving, but they never actually all leave. We have, as I say, around 80 to 100 children. Not so much now because we are in a different church and building a different kind of a different congregation. Our own student support program that we have going now stands at 23 kids. So we help them, and they are part of our lives in a similar kind of way as you would experience if you were fostering. So as a first step of fostering, taking you into being approved, then working as a foster parent may well be something that you should consider. Now, I have friends who their daughter, working from America, went through a lengthy procedure in order to adopt a Chinese child, and they adopted a little girl from China, and they all went out there to meet the child, and they all loved, bonded with a particular child, and it was mutual, and eventually they were able to go and pick up the child, and she has been a huge treasure in their lives. We find that the kids that are in our lives, even though we can't call them our own, if you can ever say such a thing, are a huge treasure to us. We are helping 2 kids at the moment from a family who are neighbours. They're neighbours, and the kids can be in and out anyway, but we've just had our first big win with Lovely, in that she came more into control for us, always with us, taking her everywhere with us. She is an adorable kid, but she only weighed 12 kilos when she arrived. When I say when she arrived, she's neighbours anyway, so it's all in. And now, after about a month, we actually have got her weight up to 20 kilos. And someone who is a viewing subscriber said, 20 kilos, oh my God, my little boy is only 4 years old, and he is 24 or 26 kilos. So she was horrified at that idea. But Lovely is a gorgeous kid, and she's doing just great. And her older sister is also with us. They sleep at Nanai's, and LJ spends most of her time in the company down there of Bibi and Taliklik, who are almost at the same age as she is. So they're both very, very well taken care of, as are their siblings, who have stayed with the grandmother. As I say, all very close neighbourhood, within walking distance for LJ when she takes some of the support that we give to her for the family. We built a house for that family over 2 years ago, and we are involved with the family in a particularly poignant way, because the mother, as I explained in the last video on adoption, the mother saw us at we were parking at the front of the municipal hall in Taliban, and she came to us and she needed some financial help, which we were able to give to her. And in a premonition, she said to Beth, of course I wasn't privy to this because she spoke in her own language, but in Visayan she said to Beth, if I should die, please promise me that you'll take care of the kids, which we're now doing. So, life is full of events that sometimes we think we would be ill-equipped to deal with, and yet when it comes along, you do what you can to get the job done. So, for those of you who were very interested in the adoption video and how it works here, think about the idea of fostering as a beginning way of making things go. Sometimes, as in the case of some friends of mine who were almost like extended family, in the UK. They tried and tried for a long time to have a child, and it just simply wouldn't happen. After doing three goes at in vitro, and 3 goes at in vitro is no small amount of money in the UK, so it didn't work. So they pretty well gave up on that and on the idea that they could conceive and have a child of their own. So they went ahead, went through the adoption system in the UK, and they adopted a beautiful little girl, and months later she conceived for a child. Who knows what the forces are, spiritual, thought, mental, fears, hopes, wishes. Who knows what's really involved in this production of a child when so many people are doing stuff which is going to bring about a child which they don't want, and then they get pregnant and it's a huge problem. And yet it's an irony, isn't it, that here you may have a couple who is their dearest wish, as Beth and I, our dearest wish would be to have our own child, and it's not happening. And even for adoption, that's not happening either. So when we talk of adoption, we really are talking about what Beth calls adoption of the heart. We absolutely adore the kids that we have in our lives, and we are grateful for those. For you, if you are in that situation, maybe you might try to think about what you can do for the child. Inevitably, the child will come into your life and cause a healing to take place, which may, in the case of my friends in the UK, may be all that you need to conceive your own child. I wish you well, and have every hope that this may be a healing time for you too. Thanks for looking in. Bye for now.